Mic check 1 2 a 1 2.
I'm fine, thanks.
Let's check that's working then. Where is it going?
Nothing coming through. Try refreshing. Nothing coming through.
That's working. All good. Right then. Right. Welcome to another dev stream with me and Mike. Me being John. And we're going to just be continuing from yesterday. Now, yesterday we were looking at making the first landmarks. Today we're going to look at making the second landmark. I fixed a couple of bugs, no pun intended, with the aphids this morning, along with a few other problems. But today we can we should be able to get on with looking at the fish I wanted to do. Now, with the fish, I wanted it to attract other ants to the location, so that'll essentially be what's tricky about harvesting a fish is you've got to deal with another group of ants that are harvesting it at the same time, and they'll just be coming from one of the caves and going back into one of the caves. To be honest, they'll probably get slaughtered by the beach tiger beetles and spiders. That we seem to have a ridiculous amount of them, but as long as I might disable their spawning so I can actually check that it's working. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be having a look at today. Making a fish.
Saying hello to Curito, to Erwin and Fire, to Mako010, to Fortune SWC, to Irene. Thanks for joining us, guys. Yep, John's just carrying on into development streaming.
Okay, so something I wanted to do before I did anything else was make a base class for landmarks. Now, landmarks, currently we just made an aphid landmark. What I want to do is make a class and then extend aphid landmark off that. So basically we can have a central place where all landmarks can have a set of functions. And I want to do this for example, I want to destroy a landmark. I can maybe just call the destroy function that I set up on it, and that I'll be able to call it on any type of landmark rather than just a single type. So I'll start with that, and then we'll move on to making the fish. So I believe landmarks were in here. Yeah, there they are. So there's the root aphid. It's actually called root aphid landmark 2 because but I've deleted the other. I've deleted landmark 1, so we can rename that back to root aphid landmark. And then I will create a landmark class. It won't have anything in to start with, but it's just a good idea to get this sort of thing in place from the beginning, rather than trying to retrofit it. So I'll just call this landmark. Oh, it's auto-saving. Great!
Okay, let's see who else we had here. Fortune, it would be cool if you could invade the other colony's nest. Yes, that will happen eventually, absolutely. In fact, you could do that now, in the way the game's set up at the moment. It's just it wasn't relevant for the levels that we've made so far, that's all. Yeah, we need more levels. I played the whole game in 10 hours. Want to play more? Absolutely, yeah, there's more on the way. We just need time to make them. Simple as that. It's amazing to see how you all do this, says Mako. Cheers, Mako. Yeah, it's not everyone's cup of tea is watching a dev stream, but yeah, some people seem to get a kick out of it. Sonad Yorm, hello. Mako, bigger maps maybe a little bit, but there is a physical limit on the size we can do with the maps. I mean, they're already pretty big. I mean, you think about the number of tiles that's in one large map on the surface. Well, thousands.
Yeah. And there's 21,000 actors in this map. Most of those are tiles. That's even before the game starts. Okay, so that's called new blueprint. Great. So this one. Okay, so this is just going to be called landmark, and then I'm going to extend the root aphid landmark off this landmark, just to give us a central class. Okay. So yeah, this is the one we were working on yesterday. I'm going to reparent the blueprint. Just going to parent it to landmark.
You'll be glad to know, John, we're right at the top of game dev streaming, but there's only 5 of them.
Not many dev streams.
Looks like another 3 are using Unreal, and the other 2 are using, by the looks of it, Unity.
Interesting.
Which are popular
3-2 split.
Yeah, both popular engines.
Okay, so I'll just save that. Okay, so now I'm going to make a new blueprint. I'm going to extend it from the landmark again, because all landmarks are going to extend from this base class landmark. And it's just going to be called, I guess, just fish landmark. And inside fish, inside the fish. Okay, so that's a call to its parent. So that's a call to its parent's begin play. I will keep that in. So I will keep it calling its parents begin play, just in case we want to do something with that. Its parent is landmark, by the way. That's what I'm doing at the moment. This is its parent. There's nothing in it, but essentially the fish landmark is calling the event begin play on the parent. So what I want to do is I want to spawn a fish, essentially. Spawn actor from class. I think it's harvest. Yeah, it'll be harvestable fish blueprint. I believe everything's set up in there already. So I'm not. However, I don't know if harvestable fish rotates itself or anything like that. I don't think it does. We can have a quick look anyway, see what's inside harvestable fish. Where is it?
Question, when a new biome like a jungle is added, should be able to make biome switch in Freeplay. I think John will make several maps using the different tile sets that we make. So there'll be some maps that are beach, some that are sand dunes, some that are
that'll be part of the plan, is as we add new biomes, new maps for Freeplay will come out as well. Maybe not at exactly the same time as the storyline content, but perhaps shortly afterwards.
Why did the ladybirds give just 15 food? Well, they're not that big, are they?
Yeah. We didn't want them really part of the harvest.
Yeah, it's. I think they're harvestable just to make them consistent.
Yeah.
But the main thing you need to do is keep batting them off to keep them off your aphids.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that.
But that was a gameplay consideration more than anything else. Fish, harvestable dead creature, dead fish. There it is. Okay. So it looks like it has an option of several different static meshes it uses. That's in its construction script, but that's all it does. So it doesn't rotate itself or anything like that. So I'm going to do that myself. I think we should be okay doing that. I will just check that it doesn't mess up the numbers on the fish. So the spawn transform, essentially we want the fish to be, so we want it to yaw, so you want it to be 360 degrees yaw. Everything else can stay at 0. So yeah, 0 location needs to be at the location of this. So get at the landmarks location. Its rotation needs to be, like I said, we want to rotate in the yaw, but not in anything else. So everything else can stay at 0, but yaw should be a random float from 0 to 360. I often type 359 here, but I'm not sure what's correct. So if I type 359, there's 1 degree that it can't rotate in. the 60th
0
degree.
to 359 instead of 1 to 360.
Yeah. Not that 1 degree makes any difference.
No. Okay, what about beetles in the future? There's already beetles, my friend. There's lots of beetles. There's the devil's coach horse, which are beetles. There's the ladybugs, which are beetles. There's beach tiger beetles, which, believe it or not, are beetles. In fact, someone once said that if there was indeed a god, he would be fond primarily of beetles, because 1 in every 6 life forms on the planet is a beetle.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so I need to... Yeah, and there'll be more beetles coming.
Inevitably.
Inevitably. Okay, so... Fish landmark. Okay, so we want to the director. This is the thing that spawns everything. Okay, so yesterday we just made it spawn 5 to 8 random aphid clusters. Now we're going to make it spawn. I'll keep this code in, but I'm just going to spawn the fish. Spawn actor from class. Fish landmark. Point of interest. Yeah, so it's going to be using the same thing to spawn it, the same location. I'm just going to make it do that instead for now. Eventually we'll want it to pick randomly between the various types.
Yeah, the only ants that can fly are drone male ants and princesses. Yeah, flying ants, they don't really work for a real-time strategy. They don't fight, they just fly off and mate.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it wouldn't really make sense. They'd be a bit boring in a real-time strategy, to be honest. Small crabs like birds and mice would be interesting. They're probably a bit big, to be honest. I don't think
small crabs like what?
Small besides the crabs, like things like mice and birds. They're probably a bit big for the ants to deal with and a bit too skittish, I think.
Yeah, I don't think ants would take out mice very often.
No.
I mean, they'd eat one if it was
dead.
dead.
They'd eat a dead one, certainly. You could maybe have other things as food sources instead of just the fish. Okay, so we've got a chimera fish there. Yeah, maybe on the map with the fish, put the sea a bit back so we can use the fish now. No, on the sea after day 1. Technically, you can use the fish that are on those maps already. It's just really difficult for your ants to get to them.
Yeah.
They're there for the enemy colonies, really.
Yeah. Liam was reluctant to have fishing because he thought it made like to have too many fishing because he thought it made the maps look like there'd been an oil spill.
Yeah.
Because there's not you don't really generally find beaches littered with dead fish.
There are some kinds of fish that when they spawn near the beach and they end up, beaching themselves. So that kind of thing can happen. Are we going to have massive ant wars in the future, like 10 ant colonies on a massive map through multiple carrions to explore? Probably not.
Not that big.
No. To some extent, we're already pushing the limits of what what can be done with because the AI for our ants is not simple.
There's there is still savings we can make, and there's a big one actually, but it would be a lot of work. So it's kind of working out whether these things are worth doing. The big one's actually to change how movement is done in the game, because movement's currently done using just standard A-star pathfinding and it's normal movement tracking on terrain on the ground. However, you can do something called nav mesh walking in Unreal, which I think it basically means movement's always happens on the nav mesh, not and it's what they use in what is it? There was a game that Epic made that was they use it in one of their games anyway for like units walking around, and it's more efficient, but it's difficult to implement. We're not sure whether that's worth it yet.
On the topic of food sources, would collecting your dead ants as food ever be a thing? No, for a couple of reasons. One, very few ants are cannibalistic to their own colonies. It's not good for spread of disease and such like. Same reason there's a kind of a natural taboo, that people and creatures feel against cannibalism. Also, for practical reasons, if you'd be, well, explain, John.
Yeah, you'd be feeding your death would be feeding your rebirth, and it just wouldn't. Basically, a large scale attack on you could end up being a good thing rather than a bad thing.
Yeah.
That already happens to some extent with on 2-1 with the large creatures attacking, because they feed you as they're coming in.
Welcome, Fraz. Cheers for linking that our Twitter page for Irene, who asked for it. Thank you.
Okay, so I need to make I wanted to spawn these creatures that are going to harvest. So whilst I do that, I'm going to actually disable the enemy creatures spawning all over the map, which happens in this tick here. So if I just break that, we shouldn't get enemy creatures on the surface now. And then I'm going to we'll do this in the fish landmark, and we're gonna, in the fish landmark, I'll hold an actor, which is going to be the spawn location. So this is just an object that we're going to use to spawn these enemy ants that are going to come and make harvesting the fish difficult. By the way, just to warn you, this is going to be a bit of a shorter stream today. I'm going to end it at 3 because there's some stuff I need to do at the end of the day.
Yeah, short stream today, but we'll make up for it later in the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. John's got some real life stuff that he's dealing with.
Okay, so hopefully we'll be able to get the fish done during the stream.
Are you planning to hire more workers to finish the game faster? Not exactly, because to be honest, when we have brought other people onto the project to help with certain things, getting them up to speed has been a real nightmare, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's not fast to bring new people.
It really isn't. It would slow things down. But
yeah,
John is about to become, thanks to the success of the launch on Steam, John is about to become a full-time member of Slug Disco. He's only been working part-time up until now.
You have to remember, we've made this game so far with one of us working full-time on it, one of us working part-time, and one of us working just in evenings and weekends. So in a way, yes, because we're going to be taking more man-hours into it because we can afford to do that now.
Yeah, soon there will be a natural acceleration to the project as John finishes working for his current job.
But but you can't. It takes a while for you. You got to work your notice.
Yeah.
So
John's been at that current job a long time, so he can't just go.
Yeah. Okay, so
what plans do you have for the home former carrying besides more ways like tests, and will that a-hole scientist get what's coming to him? Spoilers, I'm afraid, mate. Yeah. Spoilers. But fair to say, I think it'd be boring if we had just another set of waves.
Yeah, we're going to mix
put it
things
that
up a
way.
bit.
Yeah, we've got some ideas.
Okay, so fish landmark. I need to get. Okay, so.
Do you need anything?
Well, you
coffee?
Yeah, decaf. Please.
Just a decaf.
Yeah.
With milk.
Yeah. Okay. I've been clicking for a while and I've not actually done anything. So yeah, it's in the Freeplay directory that I want to be. Okay, so when we want to get the closest point of interest, and this is where we're going to spawn the actors from. Okay, so basically we're getting the closest, not point of interest, it's the, hang on, it's not that, it's the spawn point. I want to get the closest spawn point. Okay, I'm going to have to probably make a new function for this, so I'm just going to go through the list of spawn points. I'm just going to do this as the crow flies as well. So it's not always going to be perfect because if stuff's blocking it, but it'll be close. So I'm going to loop through all the spawn points. I'm also going to do this to a vector. So this will receive a vector input, which will be the start location. And basically I'm going to find the nearest spawn point to that location. That's what this function is going to do. And it's going to return a spawn point, an actor. Okay, so for each one of these, get actor. Oh. Right. Okay. In that case, I'm just going to input an actor because this function takes an actor in. This is the simplest way of me doing it, rather than actually me bothering to recreate this function. I'm just going to use this function that already exists. So basically, it gets the square distance to it, and the one with the smallest square distance is the one we're talking about. For those who don't know, the reason I'm getting the squared distance rather than the distance is in order to in the Pythagoras theorem. You need to use a square root in order to get an actual distance. So this does the calculation other than using the square root, and that's more efficient. So if you're just looking to get the closest relative comparison, so you don't actually care... Oh, it's auto-saving. So you don't actually care what the actual distance is between them. I only care which one's closest. I can just get the square distance, and it's more efficient. I'm looking for my coffee, but Mike's taking it. And now it's auto-saving, and it's also faffing around with C++ that it doesn't need to do. Maybe I need to try and increase the amount of time between autosaves. Cheers, mate. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a local variable called... Not a variable. Local variable. Called current distance, or current closest.
Okay, official Gasu, I have one very good idea. You should make a custom Formicarium into Freeplay. You know what? You could do just an underground level which has the Formicarium setting if you wanted for Freeplay.
What do you mean?
Just make an underground level which has the surroundings of the Formicarium.
Yeah,
you see what I mean? Yeah. Also, you will be able to play with the properties of your Formicarium colonies in Freeplay. What plans do you have for the home Formicarium besides more? Yeah, I've already done that one. So I'm glad Fraz, yeah, you saw the game at EGX, thank you, Fraz. Any new units you have planned? Yes, next will be Leafcutter Ants, and there'll be different casts of them to play within the levels, and then you'll be able to play with their mages in the Formicarium. Yes, there is a lot of potential for this game because ants are endlessly complex, but we can't do all of them.
Yeah, we can't do everything.
Graphics is really nicely made. Thank you for that nice commentary, and I'll pass that on to Matt, our artist. And also the great work from the guys at Epic Games for making a very beautiful looking game engine anyway. That's really helped.
Yeah.
Wish I did the presentation due in 2 days so I could stay and watch more of this instead. Mate, it'll still be here. Yeah, the VODs will be available. Yeah, go and do your presentation. When the game has come out, is workshop a possibility? Perhaps. Yeah, there's some things we could maybe add, like skins and such like that for workshops, so there could be some user-generated content there. But you know, no promises, but maybe. Wish you all the best, great job. Thank you, Rugbucky YouTube. Not sure how you pronounce that. Lord Obamakin, nice name. I have no idea what he's saying, but loving the info we're getting. Okay. I thought I had a pretty neutral accent, to be honest. His multiplayer cooperative would be truly nice, don't you think? Absolutely it would, but we've got other things to do first. Yeah, but starters, more units. Yeah, imagine StarCraft, I said this yesterday, imagine StarCraft 2 with just Zerglings and Marines. That'd pretty much what it'd be at the moment.
Or the distance is less than the closest distance. Okay, so here what I'm saying is, if so, it's an if statement. If the closest distance is 0, so it's the first one, or the current current square distance is less than the current saved one, then
Just to reiterate there, no, I'm not saying the game will be co-op multiplayer at all. I'm saying it would be nice. But that's
we never say never.
No, we never say never, but it's not confirmed at all.
No.
Why are all of the wood ants the same model? Because when you guys show us the wood ants, there were different colours. There's 3 models for the wood ants.
No, I think it's one model with 3 different skins.
Yeah, 3 different skins. So there's the workers, and then the acid sprayers, and the melee soldiers. But they are 3 separate entities, and they do look a bit different if you're getting close.
Okay, so current closest. So if the current actor we're looking at is closer or 0, then we set current closest, and we also set closest distance to be the distance. Okay, so that should be fine now. Then it'll run through it all, and then at the end, it will return current closest. That might be null pointer if there's. So I will do a check when I get that. So that's closest spawn point. That should be done now. That should work. So back to where I was, which is here where we've made the fish. Rather than closest point of interest, we want to closest spawn point to this. We're going to use that. What did I call it? Called it colony spawn point.
Irene says, I haven't seen any bugs or the game isn't working, so you guys are doing a great job. Yeah, most problems people have, because we dealt with most of the major issues during our beta testing, but it seems to be down to specific people's setups that are causing issues.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to be the same on any game with a modern engine, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a beta to test before official updates? We do have a beta group. It was our beta group is composed of Kickstarter backers who chose a particular tier to be able to back. So that's our closed testing group, and those guys were really handy in getting the game balanced, so everyone else could play a better game before, once it was released.
Okay, so that's set a spawn point. Let's just do a quick check to see if that actually works. So on each fish, there should be something. There should be a spawn point set, and it should be the nearest one, theoretically. Okay, so let's find some fish. There's a fish. Okay, so that is probably the nearest spawn point. Yeah, I think it is. Okay, so if I have a look at that, that's called OG Tunnel Spawner 2. Oh, but it's not actually the fish that I'm looking at. It's the what's it called? They're called landmarks.
Whoever made the spider nest mechanics is brilliant. I love how they would steal ants one at a time. I like watching them. I think they're super creepy.
Yeah, there we are.
The Suggestria Florentina, I think they are.
Mm-hmm.
Who came up with those?
Spider. The mechanics.
Yeah. Or was it a committee thing when you sat down and worked
yeah,
it out?
it's difficult to say who actually came up with them now.
Nice, simple idea, executed well.
Yeah, I implemented them.
Mm-hmm.
The gameplay one.
Yeah.
Matt obviously did the artwork for it.
And the animations.
Yeah, and the way it fades out as well. I think it's really clever when you take them out.
It's a nice subtle detail that, so you can see all the food.
Okay, so right, so I need to store the fish as well when it spawns on this. So we what should I store it as? Harvestable fish. That's what it is.
Are you going to be able to go into other colony nests and kill rival queens? Yes, essentially. You will. You eventually is what I mean. Yes, or better, enslave them. If we were planning to let you play as slave makers, that would make sense. But that's not in the current plans. But again, could be in the future.
Yeah. We'll see where we get to with it.
The full web spiders in the game, young or adults? Well, Suggestia Florentina is there's quite a right. Like in any spider, the more they eat, the bigger they get. So they're adults, but they are quite small spiders. They can get a bit bigger than
funnel webs can be big, but there's loads of different funnel webs.
Yeah, the one in our game, Suggestia Florentina, is actually the only one that exists in the UK where we're from.
All right.
It's an invasive species, but you can get it here.
Okay, so I've got the fish. Save the fish. That worked. So now what I need to do is I need to At the minute, I'll just make it spawn an enemy ant every 5 seconds, just to get it off the ground. Okay, so set timer by event. So what this does is it just triggers this event every custom event spawn. It triggers this event every time the timer hits 0, and the timer's just going to loop. So obviously I'm going to want more of a random feel to this, so they don't look like they're coming out every few seconds. But
like in the Formicarium.
Yeah. Well, it's slightly randomised in the Formicarium actually. You'll notice they do sort of clump up a bit. But I'll improve this as we go on. But first, I want to spawn actor from class, and this is going to be a what are they called? I think stray wood ant. Stray wood ant. There we are. Okay, so I'll leave it with colony ID -1 for now, although we will need to think about that. They'll probably need their own colony ID. Anyway, swarm point. Now, so the question is, yeah, I'm going to want to spawn a swarm point.
Matt says to make sure you get his latest changes in about that issue we're having earlier on.
Okay.
Yeah. So another time, but yeah.
So I'm going to spawn a swarm point, which is swarm blueprint. I don't want this to do anything. I just want it to sit on top of the fish. I'm going to save this as well. Promote to variable. So I'm trying to remember how they worked, how the stray wood ants worked. I don't know whether I need to spawn a swarm point for each one. I might do. So let's do that for now. See if it works. If I can't figure this out, I need to have a look at the 2.1, which is where they're used.
Thanks for the kind words, Obamakin. What will be special aspect of leaf cutter ants? Well, their kind of archetype from their name is that they harvest leaves from the wild to grow fungus from as a food source.
Yeah, they don't actually eat anything other than this fungus. So in order to feed the colony, you have to bring leaves back.
Just a better melee unit. Now, actually, there is. We talked about this yesterday. There is going to be a unique trait for the majors, which are the big ones. You know, with the classic ones with big head and huge pincers, which is going to have a taunt ability. They're not going to do massive amounts of damage, but they'll have high health and they'll have the ability to attract enemies to them in order to protect you.
Force enemies to attack them.
Force enemies to attack them. Yeah. I mean, anyone who's played an MMO will probably know a taunt ability, won't they? How that works. Maybe you can choose how many ants you want in a group. Now you need to build different nests of the same ants to get in a group. How many ants you want in a group? No, we want people to think about their nest layout when they think about the size of their groups. So if you, it kind of defied the point of us wanting people to think about how they lay out their nest if we allowed you to just split the groups smaller there. So that's something I think we're quite firm on not changing, isn't it?
Part of the core mechanics, really. Spawn, transform.
Please add fire ants floating on water. There is a plan to add fire ant bridges I don't think they'll float on water exactly, but to some extent they will.
We've still got to discuss how things.
We have to work out how that's going to work. But fire ant bridges will be in the game eventually, because that was a stretched goal on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've done that. It's not happy with me. Oh, because it hasn't got a transform. It actually just needs to sit on top of the fish. Okay. She's happy with me now. Okay, let's see what that does. I know what it should do. I know what I want it to do. Whether it's actually going to do what I want is another question.
The age-old issue for the programmer. The computer does exactly what you tell it to, though.
Yeah. Right. The ants are spawning, they're just not moving. Ooh, I know why. They haven't got any AI running on them.
They're literally dumb.
Yeah.
They just sat there idling.
So spawn default controller is what gives the ants a brain. Yeah, I only had a brain.
I think you can see the brain, can't you, in this kind of flowchart, like in a blueprint way.
Yeah.
But it's quite complicated.
It's become quite complicated.
Over time, it became very complicated.
Ants do all sorts of stuff now.
Counterfuck says, like that you can create groups by individual nests. It motivates to build something else than one huge nest for each type. Correct. Mm-hmm. That is the point.
Okay. So, ants. Right, are they going to harvest it?
Or are they just going to stand there? Looks like he's harvesting.
Yeah, they are harvesting. But at least they're registering themselves to harvest. Yeah, they are harvesting.
But are they just sat there?
But I don't know if they've got the AI to figure out what to do after harvesting. Speaking about AI, let's take a look, shall we? Okay, so oh, they're disappearing. How exciting. Okay, so they're working to an extent, but they're yeah, what they're doing is they're doing something called escape and despawn, but I haven't given their spawn point an escape location.
It needs to be where they came from, probably, doesn't it?
Oh, and there's an error as well. So a quick look at what's erroring.
Well, you guys had a way to get royal jelly during the missions to upgrade ants the same way you do in the home colony. No, probably not. Those royal jelly upgrades, it's because the former carrier challenges are deliberately quite tough. But there's other interesting things we can do with the ants out in the wild. You know, we can balance that you don't need those kind of upgrades.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, the levels are designed not to need those upgrades.
Yeah, exactly. But the Formicarium, you don't necessarily need them in the Formicarium if you've got a big enough force. Yeah. But they help.
Yeah. Personal choice.
Is weather a problem to have in count for our ants in the future? Perhaps, can't promise it. It depends how things go. But perhaps.
Spawn default controller. Anyway, I'll come back to that error. I'm looking for the swarm BP. Okay, so in here will be a property somewhere. that's like the location. Current target, not current target. I think this is it, swarm spawn point. I just think it's that I need to set. And I think that just needs to be set to the colony spawn point. And it'll then use that to escape with the food it's harvested. Maybe this will get rid of the error as well. I'm not quite sure what was causing the error.
It'd be nice to have a map like a kitchen of a house. We talked about this. We could do fun one-offs like that, can't we?
Yeah, I'd like to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be a campaign, but it'd be a level that you can choose from other game modes.
Yeah. Maybe holiday specials or whatever.
Will you guys someday update the tech tree to make it look better? I think it looks just fine, to be honest.
No, that's definitely not a priority.
Would it be possible to add multiple underground layers? Funnily enough, this map has 4 of them.
Yeah.
Already.
I mean,
but I think what you're actually talking about here is layers as in, you can dig below 1 tile deep in the underground. If that's what you mean, then probably not. And it adds unnecessary complication, to be honest. And issues with pathing as well.
Not this hasn't fixed the issue, unfortunately. Should have a look at how they're set up in 2.1. Okay, we're gonna have a look at the code 2.1. It's a big old bit of code. There is the error as well. Let me just check. Attempted to access Straywood Ant C2 fire property equal finish spawning actor.
Would it be possible to have multiple queens in the same colony? There's plenty of ant species that have multiple queens.
Wood ants do it, for example.
Wood ants, yeah, but our wood ant nests are small starting out ones, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
But fire ants have multiple queens, for instance.
Yeah, they do.
There's no reason why not. I think it'd probably take it some changing, wouldn't it? To core mechanics.
I don't know.
Again, it's
definitely not a priority.
It's not priority and it's not planned. But it's in theory it could be done. Like when you see the queens moving around on level 2-2, the queens that come to attack you are not actually queens as such, are they?
No,
they're just spawned colony creatures.
Yeah.
So they don't operate like the queen does, which is quite an integral part of how the game mechanics work. The actual queen who sits on the queen eggs, the queen nest.
Attempted to access stray wood ant. It's pending kill. I don't see why that would. I'm going to add a valid check here. However, I don't see why it would be invalid as soon as it's been spawned. What's it set to? Right, I'll set it to always spawn, ignore collisions. Maybe that'll help. So maybe that's the issue. Maybe sometimes it's not spawning because it's colliding with something. In which case it would be invalid because...
Could you add a defensive queen? At one point, one of the upgrades planned was the queen to defend herself, but we changed that idea to the kind of the big, powerful queen abilities that help your nest as a whole. Because if a group of spiders attack your queen, she's going to die pretty quick. So a better defensive capability was her having confused the spiders for a certain amount of time, or go immune for a while. It's a veritable bouquet of fish.
Is that... Question is that because of... Is that because just of random chance?
Or if you play it again, will it...
Have I done something to break it? I mean, there is another fish over here, but every other fish has ended up...
Seems
there's two. There's two
it
other
seems
fish.
unlikely that would have happened.
Does seem unlikely, but it's random. It's possible. I mean, what I intend to do eventually is make it so a landmark takes a slot, so you can never get two in the same area.
Right. Yeah, that's how it should work, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Fiery Death says, would it be possible to upgrade the Queen Nest tiles? The issue we've got there is the Queen Nest tiles have already got a very unique ability, haven't they? In that they spawn a hero worker. When there's no other workers, the Queen Nest tiles will spawn a worker for you, so you'll never run completely out of workers. And I don't know how I'd feel about free upgraded workers, if you see what I mean. What do you think, John?
I think this is weird.
John thinks this is weird.
Now it's spawned two in each location. Exactly two. I'm not convinced this is random chance.
A change you made just has caused this.
Let me try one more time, because we're getting weird results here. Get something super weird there.
You know what I'm reminded of? You ever seen a picture of a puffin carrying fish? They have lots of fish coming out their mouths. Maybe it's a puffin has just dropped its whole load of fish in one go.
Right. Okay, this is more what I was expecting. Okay, maybe it is fine. It just seemed so weird.
See, John, this is what I imagined just happened. Just dropped. Yeah.
Okay, so I need to... I think it seems that making sure they spawn and ignoring collisions has worked in that respect. Anyway, I need to go... I haven't actually changed the map, so I'm not going to save the map because that'll take ages. But I need to go take a look at the stray wood ants spawning in 2-1. So I need to have a look at that level. Where is it? Rising Tide. Just take a while to open. When it asks if I want to save the dunes, I say no.
Bigger food source than fish? You know what? When the Titans come, maybe.
Mm.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know, yeah, eventually we plan to add creatures called Titans, which would be huge things like scorpions or Titan beetles, which they don't exactly, as far as we can gather, they won't represent like an existential threat to your colony because they'd be too big to get underground for starters. But you'll have to think of clever strategies to take them down, and once they do, they'll become a really big food source for your colony.
Okay, so it's be something like spawn stray wood ant.
Could you add progression through collecting? Like you've harvested half the food from a fish, so the fish is 50% skeleton, 50% meat. Multiple extra resources is probably too much, to be honest. I mean, the Formicarium already has 3 resources.
I mean, the way the way leaf cutters work, there's going to kind of be an extra step to getting the food. So I suspect leaf cutter colonies will have leaves gathered.
Yeah, rather than just food, it'll be
Okay, so this is where the stray wood ants are spawned.
No, like the sprite of the fish changes as you collect it. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
Oh.
well, we had this idea a while ago. It'd be a nice graphical thing
Yeah,
to do.
we'll have to see if we get round to it.
Yeah, we certainly had that idea before. Yeah, so we'd have Matt model a fish skeleton underneath, and then like it'd slowly disappear or fade out over time, so it'd be just remain a skeleton. Yeah, perhaps it's if we get round to it. Yeah, it'd be a nice touch, but there's other priorities. Oh dear, they've started calling us Dad. This is a bad thing when this happens. This never goes well.
Okay, so that spawns. Local swarm point.
Someone asked earlier why is there a 150 limit in the formicarium? Very good reason. We know what people are like, and some of you guys would have already completely filled the formicarium with ants by now, therefore making the next formicarium challenge really easy. So that's why there's a hard cap limit in the formicarium, but there isn't out in the other levels.
Although I suspect a load of you have got loads of resources saved up for when the
Yeah,
we'll just build
not sure
them
what
instantly.
we'll do about that, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to look into it. Set local swarm. Okay, so level 1 under swarm point. Right.
Could it be possible to do like in Rising Tides, where enemy ants spawn at the border of the map and go back? In Rising Tide, actually, they're real colonies. Not Rising Tide. Sorry, that's actually what you've just said here. The ones in Rising Tide are stray ants, aren't they? They don't have a home colony. They just spawn. That's what John's doing now.
That's what I'm looking at.
He's working on that now, so they'll just spawn from a nearby spawn point and then go back. But on the second one of those levels, Queen of the Hill, the two colonies that you fight against are real colonies. They've got an underground and everything. There's just no need to see it in the game.
We haven't finished all the mechanics of going into an enemy nest, so. Level 3 wonder swarm point. Okay, so there appears to be one swarm point per. So I want to check in the AI what the stray ants are doing when they pick up the food. Whether they're calling an escape function. Okay, so. This is the ant behavior tree. That's the attack. Gather. So, am I colony creature? Yes. That's am I colony creature? No. So this is where the stray ants will be. Harvest resource. So they're harvesting it. Then it sets it to carrying food. Okay, so at that point it's just carrying food. It doesn't run an escape function or anything. Okay, so back to the behavior tree. Carrying food. Carrying subtree. Yeah, so this is where they are. So they swarm, escape, and despawn.
Kane Enoch, good biblical name there, says, curious, are you deriving any inspiration from the SNES game Simant? As we said yesterday, before we started the project, we hadn't played Simant. But then we did play Simant, and ultimately it's good. Of course it's influenced a bit. Yeah, but it wasn't a primary inspiration is the point. But we played it and got some ideas.
We understand what people love about Simant.
Yeah.
It's not by no means a perfect game. It's an old game. But yeah, we wanted to capture some of that. Single creature escape. Okay, so it's looking at its swarm point. If it's valid, it's valid, it runs single creature escape. If it's not valid, it says it can't do it. Single creature escape. Oh, it's a C++ function.
So you're going to have to do some
Cancelling.
What are you guys planning for the buildings tab? Do you mean the little whistle in the bottom corner? It was actually a summons tab, I think. In some of the ideas we had for, in earlier mechanics, that you'd be able to kind of summon certain types of ant or something, but we're not sure if we need that now.
Yeah.
So we might not even use that tab. If you see that disappear, it's not that we've decided to cut things from the game, it's just we thought of a better way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. It's supposed to be a whistle, by the way.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, it's difficult to tell. But yeah, like I say, if you see that disappear, don't panic. We're not being lazy and cutting features. We've just come up with a better way to do it.
Resource. What am I looking for? Swarm point. Swarm.
Hi, Chase, StarCraft 2.
Swarm. Okay. So what did I say it was calling? It was calling something called single creature escape. Okay, and what it's doing is it's setting its temperament to patrol home point. Right, I think I need to set them patrolling.
You should make it so that tab is where you can place walls in your colony. This comes up repeatedly for good reason. People would like to be able to build walls in their colony to rearrange it, but you've got to remember, allow people to surround their queen with walls or to make a really complicated maze to their queen really off balances things, because you can just turtle in, but these ants are aggressive ants. We want them to be aggressive, and those kind of turtling tactics really make it difficult to balance a level. So it probably won't find a building walls. Probably won't ever find a place in the campaign. Certainly not. Never say never again for things like free play, but it's not planned at the moment for good reasons. For good reasons. Thanks, Chase. Chase enjoys the game. It's really fun. Chase enjoys. I like people who can appreciate both StarCraft and this game. Yeah, it would be nice to allow people to build, to reshape their nests, but you can see why we've not done it yet.
Spawn point. That's the swarm point. Patrol vector array. Patrol points. Oh, it's just a vector. Oh, right. Okay. Right. There might be a really simple way to do this. Well, okay. So what's it? Static point for patrol homes. Then it's set local swarm point. Okay, right. I think I've got enough information to implement this now. Liam made some big changes to how that works, which is what is confusing me.
Speaking of making a maze, though, if you wanted, in Freeplay Mode that John's working on right now, we're not making that big path to the entrance. So if you wanted to make a really mazy kind of underground, you can. Because, it's not a campaign that you're playing here, it's just your own game. So if you wanted to make a mazy path to the surface entrance, then we're not going to stop you. But because it's your game that's supposed to be played at your pace. I can hear the crickets again, John.
Ah, crickets! It's because I'm on a different map. Okay, so essentially, we need to pass it in some patrol points. So, as part of its initial setup, I'm going to create a going to be an array of vectors. Why is this open? And it's just going to have one point in? Maybe? And that point is going to be get actor location. This is location. Okay, so now it's got a patrol point, but instead of this spawning at this location, this actually needs to spawn at that location. Whew, nearly there. Swarm spawn point. Stray wood ants. Okay. Maybe? Right, I need to go back to our level. And then hopefully we'll have the wood ants properly leaving.
Excellent.
Hopefully. Probably not.
Praying mantis would be a great option in the future. They're cool insects. They look cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we will be adding new extra insects for both food and battles.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, we can't promise yet.
Can't promise anything.
To,
we need to decide on some really, and get working on them. But yeah, it's a cool suggestion, and they're cool looking insects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So could happen. We do still have some creatures to make for our Kickstarter backers. There's a couple
What's
of
left.
There was Ines asked for a cricket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a type of cricket.
A type of cricket, yeah.
There's already the mole cricket in, but
You'd have to be another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe just a more classic cricket. Yeah, that'd be kind of passive, maybe. Or
what do crickets eat?
yeah, Meg says we're awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. You'd be surprised we don't actually hear that often.
Not in the real world.
Yeah, you'd think we'd be walking down the street and people going, "Hey guys, you're awesome," all the time. But no, it just doesn't happen.
Okay, so they are going to the fish. That's a good start. They're going to the fish. Are they coming back? They're not coming back.
Nope.
Oh. Oh.
They're coming back! Now, does he despawn as he goes in?
Is he going to escape properly?
Yay! Hooray!
Okay, so there we've got ants nicking food.
And finally they get to eat their fish. Ants nicking all the food. And eventually the fish will despawn.
Yeah.
I think you still want to work out why it's spawning like this, the fish.
Well, to be fair, it might have just been random. Although there is two groups of two there again.
Yeah.
But there is some single ones as well. Maybe.
But you're still yet to implement a system where the landmarks...
Yeah, that prevents them from...
Yeah, so fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, so...
That accomplished then, at least.
Yeah.
Got another 20 minutes of the stream, guys. Then John's got some other stuff that needs doing.
So yeah, I think that's got the basic mechanics of that down. I'd like to randomise more the
Timing?
Yeah, the timing of it.
It probably needs to be less as well, obviously, but that's all a balance.
Oh yeah. Well, again, this will be something that gets controlled by the difficulty. The game's going to change in difficulty as you...
Is there a director that's going to decide these things?
Yeah,
You've been working on that, haven't you?
Yeah, that's the free play director up there. Up the top. pointing at it and none of you can see.
I can just imagine him sat in his lair, pressing buttons, difficulty ramps.
Yeah. Okay, as you can see at the minute, it looks like things are getting worse and worse. And if you look at the actors in the bottom right, there, it's slowly creeping. In fact, it's not even that slow. It's quite rapidly creeping up. And that's because I'm spawning loads of these swarm points, and I don't need to anymore. I only need to spawn one. So if we have a look at this, okay, so the swarm point here no longer needs to spawn.
What do you think of this? You can only build where you have broken, and B, you don't get that territory point back. You'd still have issues where you'd get chambers sealed off and such like, which would confuse pathing definitely. It's a thought. Talking about rebuilding in the former Carium.
Oh right.
Maybe even you don't get not only do you not get the territory point back, but you have to spend a territory point to rebuild. Something like that. Because otherwise you'd have to end up adding another resource for rebuilding.
There's quite a few considerations you got to think of when you're dealing with rebuilding. For a start, it's an area that can no longer be walked on. That was walked on before, was walkable before. So they haven't rebuilt anything on the area. Needs to be pushed off the area at that
point.
Otherwise,
it gets stuck.
Yeah, and also the way our mechanics work, everywhere has to be pathable from the Queen, else it messes things up underground. So you couldn't cut off a chamber, for example. I mean, maybe we can change the mechanics to it, but it's just one of those things that we could spend time working on.
But right now,
I'd rather aim to get more content out.
Exactly. We want to get this. We quite like the way the former Cariums work at the moment. We want to get this free play mode out because it's going to provide a ton of extra replayable content to you guys, basically, and it's going to be expanded over time. And while John's working on this, Matt and Liam are obviously working on the next set of former Carium levels. So there'll be the campaign continuing. There's lots of content to come. All of these things we may re-look at in the future, but we need to provide more content to you guys because a lot of you have spent $20 on the game or £16, whatever your local currency is, and we owe you more content because that's what we said we'll do.
Swarm point. Okay.
Chase, where did you guys get the inspiration from the game? It's pretty unique. Simant, some ideas have come from Simant because we only played it after we started, but as we always say, no denying it, and we've never tried to say otherwise. Our main inspiration for this game is Dungeon Keeper. Mm-hmm. You'll notice the mechanics of the digging underground and the kind of the dungeon heart, which the Queen definitely fulfills. Yeah, that role, which we love. And obviously we've expanded on that by adding a surface and such like. But there are other kind of dungeon management sims that have done that, aren't they? There's War for the Overworld and such like. And
yeah, well, War for the Overworld didn't.
What's the one that I'm thinking of?
Dungeons 3?
It's just is it one of
Dungeons
those?
3.
Yeah. But it was something that a lot of people would have liked in the original Dungeon Keepers, wasn't it? A way to go to the surface. So we thought, that'd be fun to do. And that's what we've done.
Do intend to play Dungeons 3 at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually played it before.
It might be a fun one to do on stream because it's somewhat relevant.
Yeah, maybe some point.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, guys, speaking of relevant games to play on stream, later in the week we're going to play a fun little game called Beetle Uprising, made by some other indie devs who are on Steam. If you fancy having a look at them, go and have a look. They're in early access too. They've got a fun game that doesn't really follow the more realistic route we're going. But it's fun. It allows them to have a lot of experimentation within the world of insect, which we can't really do with our more realistic setting. So yeah, go and check him out. We'll be playing that later this week.
Target wonder near swarm location. Who's doing that? No one should be doing that. Something's gone wrong here.
Getting an error.
Yeah. I suspect some of the answers not quite. Oh, I know what it is. Right, I've got to stop the swarms despawning. Basically, they despawn if they don't have any ants assigned to them. So never kill swarm.
Why hexagons? They look more organic than squares,
Yeah.
and they fit together quite well. They tessellate, and also, you know, we can have a quite natural look without having to, you know, create a lot more kind of, you know, voxel-based system or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the original Dungeon Keeper used a square grid,
And that made sense for that game because
yeah.
you were building rooms, literal rooms.
but it looks more like an ant colony with using hex grids.
Yeah, simple as that.
We put a bit of random variation on the walls as well to make them look.
Yeah, Matt was doing some really clever stuff with that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And with the textures and such like. Thanks for doing the stream for us. It's nice to talk and hear from the developers. Cheers, Jace. Thank you. Oliver Green 98 says, when will the next update roll out on Steam? Probably sometime next month.
Keep an eye out for it next month.
Yeah. This basic one with Freeplay Mode that John's working on now, probably next month. Not definitely, but probably. And then after that, a few months after that, probably the next tier of Formicarium.
Yeah. Okay. The projector nav's still coming up as an issue, and we've got ants. Yeah, there's a problem. I'm wondering whether the swarm points exist. This is since I've done. Okay, that's in a really weird location. Right. Okay, there's the issue. All my swarm points have spawned
outside the map
at 000 is where they've
which is
spawned.
the origin of the world.
I've clearly messed something up here. Colony spawn point.
When will the arena be added?
Ooh, yeah, the arena function. It'll be in between. It'll be an in between thing, I think. So after the not Formicarium, after the free play, but before any more story content.
You want to explain what the arena is?
Yeah, well, it's basically a mode where you can where you can test different armies attacking each other. So you'll be able to spawn armies of various sizes. There's actually a prototype version of it that we use to balance the game. I'll bring that up actually shortly. We can do that to finish the stream actually.
Yeah, we've got 10 minutes left.
Although I haven't opened it in a while, so it's questionable whether it'll still work.
So update will come next month. Yes, the next update, which will include a ton of extra stuff as well, won't it? It'll include a bunch of bug fixes.
Yeah.
A bunch of some small changes here and there. A lot of people have been asking for Steam Cloud Save. That will be in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the basic form of free play mode. So there'll be extra content and a big balance and bug fixing patch as well.
Yeah, and quality of life.
Quality of life updates. Yeah, a few things that you guys have been asking for. We had a meeting for the other day, and some of them are going to be put into practice.
Okay, so colony spawn point. Where's that set? That's set from the outside, isn't it? Right. Okay, I know what the issue is. I'm gonna expose this on spawn. Basically, what's happening is when this gets created, it's running all this before the swarm points even been set. So if I expose it on spawn, I can set it before that. So it's in the free play director. So here we were setting the colony spawn point, but it had already run the begin play by that point. So instead of setting that there, we're going to set it here. When the okay, so we got an issue. We got a chicken egg thing because I'm using the spawned fish to get the swarm point. I can't do that anymore. So I'm going to have to use this.
You got some circular logic going on.
It's all right. I did. I've got my head around it. There we are. Okay. And now we can plug that into there. Okay. So that should solve that problem, maybe? Maybe?
Broken parts of beehives on the floor. Are you is that a suggestion for a food type? That's a weird food type. Or are you just talking about the little texture effect that Matt added underground? you know the one, the little hexagonal thing on the floor.
I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah. I think it's just a like a little cracked earth kind of thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But it's got the hexagon theme of the game.
Yeah. With the whole kind of interface has a hexagon theme now. Yeah. It's just thematic.
Okay, so we're not getting that error coming up constantly now, so that's encouraging.
Yeah, official Gasu, the reason we don't let you collect food from the enemies you can spawn in the Formicarium is you just farm thousands and thousands of food. And because we know what you like, you guys. You just farm it all and create a huge food stock, and the next level of Formicarium would be really easy, probably.
Okay, so now they're not spawning from the nearest locations. Right. Chain of issues. I've got a theory of why that is as well. It's because here I'm getting a random point to spawn the fish at, but each time, because this hasn't got an execution pin, the white pin, it's getting a random point when it spawns the fish and a random point when it sets the point. So what I need is to save that temporarily so it doesn't get two different points. So promote to variable. I'll just call it temp spawn point. And now instead of actually calling that from there, I'm going to call it from this temp spawn point thing. So it's the same one each time. Okay, so now we should be fine.
Yeah. Gasser, if you're disappointed that you can't collect food when you've finished the Formicarium levels, it sounds like Freeplay Mode is going to be for you. A longer form game mode with a large open map where you can fight stuff, collect food. If you like playing with the Formicarium after you've finished, you'll definitely like Freeplay Mode.
Okay, so yeah, that looks promising. That looks like they're going to the nearest one. That looks good. That doesn't look good, but it looks like what we've asked it to do. Okay, no, this is good. This is working. Right. Okay, so there's the basic form of the fish. Right. Okay, so that's the second landmark implemented. What else was on my landmark list? Just whilst we're here. If I have a look at the UI, just look at landmark. Okay, so there's spider web. That'd be a fun one to put together. That's funnel web spiders.
Yeah, you suggest your Florentina. Yeah, we want those to be able to spawn at set points on landmarks.
Yeah, so maybe tomorrow we'll take on.
That'd be a fun one to work out.
Yeah. I mean, on the surface, it'd have to probably be covered in a shaded area. So spawn some maybe see-through wood bits.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's kind of in the shade.
And you'll probably want to spawn some food on the floor as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah. There'll be a load of food in the. That'll be the point of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll do the spider webs tomorrow. We've done the deadfish. We've done the aphid farm. Okay, so yeah, tomorrow we'll look at that. Then maybe seed plant the day after.
Yeah. Do you want to very briefly? You said you were going to bring up the John's just to finish the stream. John's going to bring up the arena, which is kind of a prototype of which we used for game balance when we were designing. We're going to include a level like this in the game for you guys to experiment with.
I think it's just that balance test map.
Oliver asks if we've got a Formicarium. We don't actually. We're not ant keepers, but I'm thinking about it for next year. Try and catch probably some Formica fusca or Lasius niger near where I live, because people have lots of ant keepers obviously have taken interest in our game, and they're saying it's an easy hobby with your native species. So I might as well give it a spin.
Apparently, there's some compiler error. Let's have a quick look.
It's all right.
Just have a look at it. Spawn. Ooh, this is old. This is really old.
That'll be why.
Yeah. He hasn't got level. There's something called level methods that's meant to be in the level. I'm assuming it's not here. No, it's not. Basically, we moved all the way in the old demos. We had all the controls in the on the level itself, but we moved them all into a central object. So I should just be able to drag that out, and then I should just be able to delete this.
In theory,
that's just the action groups. Yeah, they're all dealt with in level methods. Creature info, the escape button, all of that is dealt with. I think completely all of that is dealt with elsewhere. I think.
Either that or you've just messed it up.
Yeah. We will see. So we were using this to balance the creatures, but the idea will be that you can spawn in this. I think it's only the. Yeah. Okay, so
that queen is just there because there has to be a queen knocking around.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this in this kind of level, we just you could spawn 2 teams, and there's like a thin corridor up at the top to represent to show what would happen in a thin battle. The lighting on this level's messed up as well because it hasn't received the lighting pass that the other levels have.
Hopefully, if this works.
Let's say let's spawn 50 of everything for both teams.
Probably for the level we give you guys, there'll be a slider or something there.
Oh, they'd be more user friendly than this.
Definitely.
Spawn wide.
Okay, so there we've got 2 armies spawned.
2 huge armies.
And now these armies are equivalent, so it'll just come down to random perturbations who actually wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the slowdown.
Yeah. that was a big army. How many was that? That was 200 versus 200.
Yep. You get the idea. The slowdown, by the way, guys, it's because we're running in editor.
In the editor, yeah.
So there's huge overheads added to the engine which slow it down. But yeah, there you go. You get the idea.
There's probably some error messages coming up as well, and they always slow it down.
Yeah.
Who's gonna win? Ooh.
It's certainly looking like Team B have won.
Yeah. Once one team starts to get an edge, it actually
just snowball, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it snowballs. Oh, some of the others survived.
Some of them survived, yeah, but we're definitely calling Team B the winners there.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's 3 o'clock now, John. Perfect timing.
Right, yeah. Thanks for joining us. Fun.
Go to death.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, thanks for joining us. Again. And yeah, we did the fish today. There's still going to be more work to be done on the fish, but the basics are in place. And then tomorrow, I think we'll move on to the next landmark. I don't want to start touching difficulties yet.
Get everything in first.
Yeah. So tomorrow we'll be looking at the funnel web spider. So setting that up to be able to appear on the surface like the fish did. So yeah, thanks very much for joining us.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, and we'll be back tomorrow sometime between 1 and 3. We'll start streaming sometime between that time, but we'll give you some heads up.
Yeah, thanks all.
Yep, thanks very much.